A lot of Fallout fans have been wondering about the latest addition to this series, Fallout 76. They want to know, is this a game for them? Should they buy it and play it? Well, I got to try it recently at a press event, and I hope I can shed a little light on that subject. Before we start, I want to be completely open and transparent with you regarding any biases I might have. So, number one, Fallout 76 is not the sort of game I was hoping for from Bethesda Game Studios. When they announced they were releasing something for Fallout, I did not want this type of game. I was hoping for a single player, open world RPG. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of the people that was mortally offended that they dared do something different. I'm just one of the people that was pretty much not all that excited by what they did announce. Number two, the platform we got to play the game on was the Xbox, and I'm a PC gamer through and through, mouse and keyboard all the way. I really am very bad when using the Xbox controller. I cannot play first-person type games with the Xbox controller pretty much at all. I am terrible at it. I don't do very well, I'm not comfortable, and I really don't enjoy it the same way as I enjoy when I'm playing with mouse and keyboard. There's not a lot I can do about that. They also made us play at 4K, so of course we did have very low frame rate, and thus I was massively out of my comfort zone. And thirdly, the event we were invited to was very cool. It was in a resort called the Greenbriers, which was amazing. We had some great food, great parties, and this amazing tour of a real-life Fallout shelter. So this, of course, was very exciting, and it does put you in a good mood. This is going to affect how you feel about things like playing the game whilst there. Bear all of these three things in mind when you listen to my opinions regarding this game. Now, ordinarily, I would give you all of the details, all of my experiences, and then sum it all up in a conclusion, letting you know my final verdict. But I realise a lot of people have just come here to hear the opinion part of this. Either they really don't have time for the details, or they've already made their mind up and want to find out whether or not I'm on their side, I'm using air quotes, so that they can leave a disparaging comment if I'm not, either calling me a paid Bethesda shill or a whiner who won't stop complaining about things. So let me get the conclusion out of the way first. Is this game good? Is this Fallout with friends? Is this game going to be for you? And the answer is yes and no. And that might sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but I'm not. It really is going to come down to you and what you want out of a Fallout game. If what you're looking for from a Fallout game is a great world to explore, the sort of amazing worlds that Bethesda Gaming Studios are actually pretty well known for, you know, a wasteland that you just want to explore non-stop. If you're looking for strange and wacky creatures to fight, interesting and somewhat ridiculous weapons and armor to find, if you want to crawl around underground places and scavenge through derelict areas looking for junk to break down into mods for your weapons, and you want to build some sort of camp to survive, and you want to do all of that with friends, this game is probably going to be for you. But if what you want from a Fallout game is a role-playing experience where you play a character that has a story arc with a beginning and an end, where you get to meet interesting NPCs and have branching dialogue that perhaps has some consequences, maybe you can enlist them to join you on your quests, maybe get to know them and even have a relationship with them, if that's the sort of game you're looking for, I'm afraid this is probably not going to be for you. And I doubt that's a surprise to anyone. It's pretty much what we were expecting. So, this game is going to be a lot of fun for some people, if they're the sort of people who like that sort of thing, if that's the reason they played Fallout games. For other people, this game is just not going to work. It's just not going to give them what they need from a Fallout game, and you probably want to skip this one. It's kind of like if you were looking at Fallout Shelter or Fallout Tactics. It's just different to Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and even Fallout 4. At least that's the feeling I get after 3 hours of playing. Now, if you've made it this far, you probably are looking for a few more details than whether or not I just recommend this game for you. So, let's discuss some of the things that stood out to me, and I'm going to start with graphics. This is one of those areas where it's going to be very difficult for me to be unbiased or to even give you any really good information. Because we were playing on the Xbox at 4K, the frame rate was very bad. I think it's supposed to stay at 30 frames a second, but it was not staying there at all. It was dropping all the time, and occasionally it dropped to single digit. It was very unpleasant for a PC gamer such as myself to look at the screen for long periods of time. I ended up actually spending more time looking at the very small screen that comes with the hardware that does the recording. I found the small screen more pleasant to look at. Obviously, this gives me less of an impression of how the game looks. I can say when I did look at the big screen, I didn't notice anything too aggressive, no like massive amounts of popping in of the distant terrain, but to be honest, I really am the least qualified person to tell you how this game compares to, say, Fallout 4 on the Xbox, because I really am. I'm just such a PC gamer in this. It would have been better if they'd have allowed us to play at, say, 1080p or 1440p and kept the frame rate higher. I would have been able to spend a lot more time looking at the big screen and concentrating on the details, but they didn't. And I suspect I know why, but I think that's a topic for another video. I don't want to get sidetracked here because I do think that was a mistake, but I want to take that conversation onto a completely different video. If you are an Xbox gamer, you probably can get a better idea of how the game looks and feels just by looking at the footage, which is 4K, and make your own decision, or find someone who is way more experienced on that platform. If you're a PC gamer and you're wondering how the game looks or frame rate is important to you, you might want to wait until a PC gamer has had a chance to review the PC version. So let's move on to basic gameplay, and the easiest way to describe this is that it is very similar to Fallout 4 in many ways. If you've played that game, Fallout 76 is going to feel very, very familiar. The way you move, the way the weapons work, the Pip-Boy, the inventory system, even things like VATS. VATS is a little different. It doesn't slow down time, but it will auto-aim for you. As long as whatever you've targeted in VATS is on your screen, you will shoot at it, and you will get a percentage. You can see what your chance of hitting is. It is a little clumsy for someone like me when using the controller, because if enemies get close and move side to side, they can break VATS a little easier. I think for me it's going to be much easier once I'm on the mouse and keyboard. You do get the option to make VATS builds as well, so if you're not very good at aiming, you should still be able to hold your own against other players if you pump things into VATS. The Pip-Boy was very familiar, although there is a new feature that allows you to quick look at the Pip-Boy, and that's kind of like the Pip-Boy in the power armor for Fallout 4, where you just sort of get a heads-up display. But it's slightly different because it's off at an angle, so it still kind of looks like you're looking at your arm from the side. It's actually very cool, it works really well, and honestly, it's the sort of thing that I'm thinking would make a pretty good mod for Fallout 4. Then of course there's the looting, which is pretty similar, although I will tell you that when you loot things that are loose and in the world, there's only one instance of them. So if you take something, your teammate will not be able to take it. If, however, you loot something from a container, the container has different loot for different players. So you can all loot bodies, chests, that sort of thing, cupboards, and they will contain loot that is unique for you. So you won't be a loot ninja. However, if there's a letter or something on the table, I'm not sure about letters actually. I can't quite tell if when I picked up a letter it removed it for everyone else. But if there's a weapon there and I remove it and it's just sat on a desk, other people cannot loot it. So there is some loot ninja potential there. The crafting system is really familiar. You're going to recognize it straight away. There seem to be some new quality of life improvements. For example, if you go to a workbench, you can break down all of your junk into its components, and that is a lot lighter. You probably want to do that quite a lot. I believe in Fallout 4 you could store all of your junk in a container in a workshop, for example, but this new feature lets you use a workbench anywhere out in the wasteland and just break down all of the items you've got that have junk resources into those resources, and they are a lot lighter. It's kind of cool, it's kind of nice, and then you can store them in your camp later on. The equipment was no surprise either. There were quite a lot of different weapons. Many of them were things you will recognise, quite a lot of armour, quite a lot of outfits, and there seemed to be a few varieties that I'd not seen before. I have a feeling there's going to be tons of stuff for you to play dress up with and just get the zaniest things you can possibly get. And although we didn't try a lot of weapons, I think it's going to feel very familiar. One thing you should know though is equipment is level locked. Essentially, certain weapons will require a certain minimum level for you to use. The same is true of armor and perhaps other things as well. This feels weird in the Fallout context, but it was probably inevitable in a multiplayer game like this just to prevent twinking, you know, getting a friend who's level 60 and giving you all the best gear when you're level 1 and you just running around annihilating everything and trivializing the experience for you and possibly other people. It does, however, feel a little weird in a Fallout game. It feels very, you know, Borderlands, that sort of thing. Just understand it's there. Probably one of the key differences you will notice between Fallout 76 and other Fallout games is the fact that there really isn't much of a character system. I know a lot of people critiqued Fallout 4 for only having specials and perks and not having skills, but now you pretty much have specials. There are perk cards, but they don't really feel like part of your character so much as other types of equipment. I'll talk about those in a second. Your character really is just a set of specials. Each time you level, I think, don't quote me on this, but this is what I noticed. When I was leveling, I was able to raise my specials. So I think you get a special each time you level. And once you get to level 60, you can probably have most of your specials fairly high, like about 8 or 9. Or you could focus on 1 or 2 of them and get them up high. I suspect there will be optimum builds. However, what has the most effect are the perk cards that you place on those specials. You see, perk cards are things you get each time you level, and I think you can get them a variety of other ways as well. And they will add the sort of things you're used to from Fallout with regards perks. So I used one that enhanced my VATS ability, for example. And this was a perception card, and I had to place it under perception. And when it was level 1, it took 1 perception point. So what this means is if you've got, say, 4 perception, you can have up to 4 points of cards in perception. This is 4 cards that have a cost of 1, or maybe 1 that has a cost of 3 and another card that has a cost of 1. You can actually merge cards together if they're the same card, and it improves the level, but it also improves the cost. So, you know, it's always a balancing act. It does mean you can set your character up one way and then very quickly change your cards and set it up another way if you have the specials. Now, that means at the start of the game, when you focus probably on one special, you'll have a limited number of options. But as you gain in levels and start getting higher stats across the board, you may actually be able to do completely different builds, have a strength build for melee, and then another build that's really tough in radiation zones, so you survive for ages, and then another one that's really good at crafting or building defenses. I don't know, we didn't do too much of that. But you will be able to change how your character works very, very quickly. You can also change the way your character looks at any time, including whether or not it's male or female. As I said, you're not playing a character with a story arc here. It really is completely up to you how you look. You can change your appearance each and every time you log in. I mean, you can just change it all the time. And you can redo your character build with these perk cards. The only thing that stays constant, I think, are the specials. Don't quote me on that. For all I know, you can reset the specials and just reassign them as well. Not totally sure how that works. My apologies if any of this information is incorrect or it's just not detailed enough. It was actually kind of hard to concentrate on this side of things when playing with 3 other people in a very short period of time when everyone's like, oh, quick, come over here. Oh, I'm under attack. Oh, no, I've fallen down a cliff and so on. So you didn't get a lot of time to just sort of sit down and really focus on some of the mundane details. You were constantly running off to check out new things or save someone or find something. Now, one of the things that Fallout 76 seems to share with Fallout 4 is a settlement system of sorts. It's not quite the same. As far as I can tell, there are some sort of settlement areas where lots of players can come together and build certain things. But I don't think we saw any of those, or if we did see any of them, we didn't interact with them. We didn't actually spend a lot of time building anything. You can build your own camp. Every single player has their own camp. You can build it or wherever you want from the looks of things, as long as there's a space, and you can move it at any time. It seems to be completely safe. People can't rob things from it. I don't know whether they can destroy it, but I don't think it matters. So you can build it, use it, and then wander on and do your own thing, and then when you need it, just place it at your feet, and it will allow you to store your junk if you've built crafting stations, although you will need to find blueprints to be able to do that. I never found them, so I didn't get a chance. You'll be able to do crafting, you can build buildings, you can even build turrets and defenses, so perhaps it will be a way to defeat strong opponents. Just slap your camp down. I don't know how long it takes when you do that, so for all I know, you plant your camp and it takes 5 minutes to build. I don't know. We didn't get much chance to play around with that for a variety of reasons, but I do know you get your own camp, you can build what you want there, and you can build them next to each other as well, so you could potentially make some little towns and mobile towns probably, but you know, have some fun that way. Again, apologies for really having very weak information on this. Again, we're just trying lots of different things as quickly as possible, and we only spent a few minutes trying to build things. Oh, I can tell you, physics is not a thing. So yeah, it's kind of like Fallout 4. Physics, very optional. Let's talk about player versus player. The player versus environment side of things is very similar to Fallout 4, except you have friends with you. But the PvP side of things is a little more complicated. You won't be able to engage in PvP until level 5, and even then you kind of have to choose to engage in it to some degree. Somebody could shoot you and they will do damage, but it's massively reduced if you don't shoot back. It will take them quite a long time to kill you, giving you enough time to probably leave the area or, you know, do whatever you need to do. You should be able to escape if that's what you want to do. If you want to return fire, that will engage PvP properly, and you will now be able to kill each other relatively quickly. Whoever wins, whoever kills the other, will get to loot any junk that person had. When you die, you don't lose your weapons, you don't lose your equipment, you don't lose anything except any of the junk components, the things that you build things with, they drop in a small paper bag, and your opponent can loot those. Once you've died, you then have the option to ignore that person, and that just takes you out of PvP, or get revenge, which keeps you in PvP. As the person who died, you get to choose now whether or not PvP is still on, or you can't be bothered, you're fed up. And you will spawn somewhere nearby, and if you've decided to ignore, you can just wander off and just say, whatever, I lost a little bit of junk, I'll find more. Or engage with them and try to get revenge. Now, if for some reason you don't return fire, you don't want to engage in PvP, but the person just keeps trying to kill you and you don't get away in time, and they manage to kill you, even though you didn't re-engage with them, they become a murderer. And what happens then is they become flagged to every other person on the server. Every other person on the server will now know this person's a murderer, and they'll know where they are. The murderer will no longer be able to see any other player on the map. They will not be able to fast travel in that area to that area. They will not be able to find other players or see them or get any heads up warning that they are being hunted, whereas the entire server can now hunt them. Whoever kills that person, that murderer, will get a bounty of 50 bottle caps, I think it's 50, from the murderer himself. So you will actually take caps from that person, and of course you will be able to loot them of all of their junk as well. So there is a system whereby you will be punished if you are a murderer. And again, you only become a murderer if you kill someone who decided not to return fire. If they didn't engage you in a battle and you keep going and you keep killing them, you will become a murderer. This obviously makes it so that killing players is not actually profitable. It's not going to be something you're going to do because I'm going to wander around and steal all your junk, because the chances are, once you've done this, everyone on the server is going to hunt you. And your murderer tag only disappears once you've been killed and the bounty claimed. Until then, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be a murderer, and the chances are you can probably store all your junk, but you're going to lose those bottle caps at some point when someone hunts you. This makes player killing not necessarily very profitable unless you totally need the junk that person has been looting. I'm not totally sure how you would know what they have, or whether you would know whether it was worth it. Perhaps if you've seen them exiting a really high level area, a nuclear bomb crater or something, but then those people are probably going to be insanely tough anyway, so you may find it a little difficult to kill them. So, they've solved the griefing problem, right? No one is going to go around trying to kill people if they don't make a profit. I mean, and if they get punished for it, right? Wrong. People are going to grief. The problem with this system is it assumes the reason people are going to try and kill each other is purely based upon wanting to loot the other person's stuff, rather than wanting to annoy the living crap out of the other person. And we know that is the primary objective of people who grief. And luckily for us, we had a griefer in our group. In our 24-man server, we had somebody who wanted to essentially pick a fight with everyone. I say luckily because it did expose the fact that griefing is still a problem. You see, this person didn't want to explore. While we were all off, seeing the sights, trying new things, all he did was find every single thing with a heartbeat or a moving mechanical part and destroy it for experience. He killed, mangled, and wasted everything he could find, gained lots of levels and perk cards, and pumped them all into strength and melee and ran around with an axe, murdering everything, including us, when he could. And it was kind of a lot of fun for a while. We were having some pitch battles, but then there became a moment where Bethesda decided to release a nuke. And of course, we all wanted to go and watch the nuke. Believe it or not, nukes are not as common as you might have thought looking at some of the videos. It's endgame stuff, you have to spend quite a long time getting them, but they thought, you know what, let's show them the nuke. And we're all stood on a platform waiting to watch this nuke, and Mr. Axe McHappy Slasher was like, I don't care, I just want to hit things, and he just kept hitting us over and over again. And whilst it didn't look like he was going to kill us before the bomb dropped, it was bloody annoying, especially since we were all trying to get good video footage. It was annoying, and it was griefing. And so he exposed a weakness there. There are still going to be people who are annoying. They may not actually be able to kill you, but they could just make you think, you know what, I can't be bothered. I'm going. Putting griefing aside, I still have a number of other worries, including, the end game. Is it going to get stale towards the end, or will they be releasing content frequently? They said they're going to release new content, but how often? Will it keep up with the players who reach the end game? The in-game premium currency, atoms. We can earn these by doing events and quests. We don't have to buy them, but we still haven't seen the atom market, so we've no idea how much any of these things are going to cost. They've said it's going to be cosmetics only. You won't be able to buy power armor, apparently. But you will be able to buy things like a cool power armor skin, maybe. I didn't get any official confirmation of what you can buy, but that was the sort of thing that was being discussed. But how many atoms will it cost? Is it going to take me 2 weeks of grinding to get that power armor skin, or is it going to take a year of grinding? Are you going to make it so tedious that the only realistic way to get a cool looking outfit is to spend actual dollars? Or will it be, a decent balance? These are all very important questions, and they are as yet, unanswered. I did briefly ask them about multiplayer support for future games such as Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, but they were not willing to talk to me about that at all. And I asked about mods, and they were quite happy to talk to me about that, but I didn't get any new information, so honestly, no point discussing it here. I may make a couple of follow-on videos where I discuss these subjects and give some of my wilder theories as to what might happen with those particular questions. In the end, I actually enjoyed this game more than I thought I would, especially considering I was playing on a platform I'm not comfortable with. Don't get me wrong, I really would have preferred an announcement for Starfield, for Elder Scrolls 6, or even another Fallout single-player RPG. Those are the games I love from BGS, and really, those are the games that would get me hyped and excited. However, this game has piqued my interest. I am curious as to how well it's going to play on the PC. I do intend to buy it, I do intend to play it, and probably stream it, perhaps with some of you guys if you've bought it as well. However, if you'd rather wait and see if it's the sort of game I like, I will be making a follow-up video once I have a bit more experience on the PC, and I will try to give you a lot better information that time. As I mentioned, I will be making some follow-up videos discussing some of the side issues, and I have a feeling this is a game that's going to appear on my channel a few more times because of these sort of discussions. I would love it if you could join me for those discussions and perhaps leave some feedback, some opinions of your own. If you could be polite, that would be an added bonus, I suppose. However, feel free to come along and give your honest opinions. I look forward to seeing you on any of the videos you care to join me for, and until then, remember as always, have fun.